everybody, welcome to this tutorial which is based on our data validation topic. Today we're going to look at how to simulate a student ID database in Python and how to search that database for a user entered ID. And if the user enters an invalid ID, then the system is going to reject it and it's not going to search the database. But if it is a valid ID, it will search the database and something will happen. Okay? Now remember, valid student IDs have 6 characters, starting with S0 and ending with 4 numeric characters. Okay? So this is how a student ID is formed. So let's get started in Python. What I want to do today is to create an array of 100 unique student IDs to help me with this computer program. So let's just get started. There's 2 valid IDs in my array. This is going to take a while, guys, because I need to do 100, right? Oh my goodness, and they have to be unique. I'm never going to remember this. Hold on a minute. Why don't we write a computer program to generate the random IDs and put them into the empty array? Okay, so I've already thought of an algorithm to help us solve this problem. Let's have a look at that algorithm. Remember, an algorithm is a series of defined steps to solve a problem. That's really what an algorithm is. Okay, so that's what we've got here, a series of defined steps. The first thing I'm going to do is create an empty array. The next thing I'm going to do is set up a variable called count, and I'm going to initialize it to 0. Then I'm going to write some code to generate a random ID, for example. Then I'm going to search my array for this random ID, and if I don't find it, if it's not there, I'm going to put it into the array, and I'm going to update the count. So let's just go through that process again. We generate the random ID, we search the array, if it's not there already, we put it in to the array, and we update the count. Then we generate our next random number, random ID, we search the array, if it's not there, we put it into the array, and we update the count. So at the moment we've got 3. Then we generate the next random number, we search the array, if it's not, it is there. So we don't put it into the array, no, and we don't update the count. There's still only 3, so we don't do that. Okay? Then we generate the next random ID, we search the array, and we insert it into the array if it's not already there, and we update the count. And we do all of this, we do these steps while count is less than, I think it's 10 or 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So maybe that's 11. While count is less than 11, we just do this. And eventually, we will have 10 unique, random student IDs. Okay, and the count will probably be 10. Okay? Now then, I'm not sure if all of this will actually work. I'm not sure about that number 11. It could be 10. We'll find out. But now that we've got an idea, let's start coding. So we've set up an empty array called IDs. Now let's start our count with a value of 0. Now we're going to go into a loop. And we're going to generate a random ID. So notice I've already imported a random function. Let's just make a note of what we're doing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable called rand, and I'm going to call the random randint function. And I need to create a 4-character number, because I'm doing this bit of the string. So let's say it starts at 1,000, which is the first 4-character number that I know of. 999 is only 3 characters. So let's start it at 1,000 and we'll finish at 9,999. And let's attach that to the start of the string, which is S0. So S0 concatenated with this 4-character number. Now remember, this is an int, but I need to fix it to a string. So I need to convert it to be a string. So take the number, convert it to be a string, and then fix it to the rest of the string. And now we'll have something that looks like that. Okay, so what's next? We need to search the array, and if it's not already there, we'll put it into the array. So I'm going to do a linear search, and let me try and explain how linear search works. Very cool search algorithm. I'm just going to create a variable called found, and I'm going to set it to be false, because we didn't find anything yet. Now I'm going to loop through the array. What did I call the array? IDs. If the current element of the array that we're processing is the same as this random ID that we created, it means we found it. We found it in the array. So we update found to be true. Okay? So that's all that for loop does. It goes through the array step by step. So let's just see what's going on here. Let's say found is false. And let's say that this is S01666. Okay, this is the random ID. Now let's look at this again. Found is false, yes. For I in range len IDs, if IDs, well, I starts at 0. If IDs 0 is the same as ID, well, that's not true, so nothing happens. We go back to the for loop, I becomes 1. If this is the same as this, no, nothing happens. I becomes 2. If ID's 2 is the same as this, no, I becomes 3. If ID's 3 is the same as this, no, nothing happens. I becomes 4. If ID's 4 is the same as ID, if this is the same as this, yes, it's the same. Found becomes true. Okay, found becomes true. I becomes 5. If ID's 5 is the same as this, nope, nothing happens. Found is still true. So we're going to work our way through it, and because we found it, found will stay true. Okay? So now, after the for loop has finished processing the array, we need to look at this variable and just find out what's going on. So if found is still false, it means we didn't find it in the array. If found is still false, we processed the array, found did not update, so it's still false. If it's still false, we put it into the array and update the count. The array, we're going to append this ID that we generated before, and we update the count. This while loop is going to populate this array with 100. Oh, okay, so at the moment, let's just do 11. Let's do 10. 10 unique student IDs. So when that's finished, we're going to assume the array is populated, and then let's print the result, or print out the array. Let's run that and see if it works. Ooh! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I thought there might be a problem with that number. So that should be 10, while count is less than 10. I think that's because it starts at 0. Let's run that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've got 10, and are they all unique? I think they're all unique. I think they're all unique. So if this number here tells us how many elements will be in the array, it's 10. If we change that to be 100 and run the program, we have 100 unique IDs. They're all unique, guys. Trust me. Okay? So have a think about this algorithm, which includes linear search. This is linear search. And see if you can figure out what's going on. Now that we've populated the array, let's get user entry and validate it. Okay, so student ID equals input, enter an ID. Say enter a valid ID. Now then, let's do some validation. If the length of student ID doesn't equal 6, we're going to do a length check. Okay, this is a length check actually. We're going to print invalid. So that's the length check. Let's do elif, so we can run another check. Elif, some logic. You'll have to think about that. We're going to do a presence check. See if you can figure out how to do a presence check in Python. If, you can think about the logic for this. We're going to do a format check. And remember the format, you're checking that it starts with S0, the first 2 characters are S0, and the last 4 characters are numbers. That's what you need to check when you're doing a format check on the student ID. First 2 characters should be that, and the last 4 characters should be numeric. Okay? Else, we're just going to print valid. Continue. Okay? So see if you can figure out how to do these validation checks in Python.